Oh, welcome to Dip a Toe. How you
Welcome
doing?
to Crypto. Let's talk crypto.
What happened to the top part of your face?
Well, I discovered something that I kind of was suspect for a little while, and
Yeah.
I discovered I really came full circle with it. And I tell you what, when I was on the beach, I just looked better from basically the neck down. So I'm just rocking it today. I'm sorry for everybody out there that's had to look from here up. So
I feel you.
I'm,
I feel
I'm
you.
just playing, man.
I
I
think I
need to
look good
fun.
from the neck up. The neck up is
See, look,
perfect.
there we go. We're 50-50. Neck up,
Yeah.
neck down.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's good, everybody?
Uh,
Crawfish, Keita, Rosemary,
Mr.
Ron
Ron
Woods in the
Wood.
house, my man.
Ron Wood.
What's
Yeah.
good?
Hello, Mr. Wood.
Oh man, we missed you in Florida.
Rosemary's here
I know.
too.
Boone's in the house.
Super excited for tonight's show. We've got two special guests in one show, which is fantastic.
I know, me and you. Isn't that great?
Well, there's us, of course. K-Buddy's here, and the new mindset, and Solar Sam, and Boone.
We got
welcome.
the heads today. Loving it.
We got 23 people in here so far. If you guys would please share this out, we really appreciate it. Please like, share, and subscribe to our channel at Dip a Toe on Rumble and YouTube. And we're at Dip a Toe Show on X. And we're streaming live on all platforms. So yeah, tonight's show, in the first hour, we have special guest Alan from the Staple Crew, Alan Staple from the Staple Crew. He's going to stop by and we're going to talk about securing your coins and your tokens, and the all important details that we need to remind ourselves on a daily basis when you're dipping the toe into the old crypto space. And then in the second hour, we have the one and only Mr. Quincy Jones, the senior software.
Your boy Quincy's on today.
Yep. Quincy Jones is the senior software developer at the XDC Network, and he's a bright, shining star in this digital asset space. And so we are so thankful to have him come on the show in the second hour. But so I know it's been a crazy couple of days, and we're going to get into that here. But before we get to the uncomfortable topic of securing your tokens and coins, it's time for
15 minutes of inspiration.
Yeah, so for those of you that don't know, we've decided to have a regular intro with 15 minutes of inspiration and feel-good stories, things that we've stumbled upon in the past week, just to kind of start it off on a happy note or a sappy note or whatever.
A sappy note.
I have two little clips to share with our audience. Yeah. Well, in the first one is kind of it's a very short little sappy dappy clip that I found that I think is really nice.
Is it the one with the duck and all the little doggos and the duck's so happy to see all of its little fur buddies?
No, but that would have been a great one that would have been a really good one to share. Let's see if this is
sorry, I saw it last night as I was passing out.
Let's see if this is. Am I sharing the table?
Yeah, I can see it there. I'm going to add it to the stage. There it is. I got
add
you.
Me. All right. This is a quick little clip. Just a friendly reminder that those of us that have our grandpas and grandmas and older folks in our lives, how important our behavior and our acknowledgement of them can really be. And I saw this clip and it got me a little teary-eyed and reminded me of my own grandpa, so I wanted to share it. Here we go.
All right, let's go.
have some good times with good friends, making good memories. A little bit of sunshine and good vibes, yeah, that's all we need. And we ain't
look at that.
We need a hurry. Everything is going our way. We're gonna have some good times with good friends, making good memories.
Oh, yeah, that one got me. That one got me when I saw it. And then my second one is one from our good friend Miss Amanda Jones at Optimistic Prime, who we had on a few shows ago with the Wandering Footprint. But I was up entirely too late last night. For some reason, I could not go to sleep.
Shocker.
Well,
Shocker alert.
I know what the reason was that I couldn't go to sleep, but I saw this and it made me feel so good and happy, and I loved it. I loved everything about it, and so I wanted to share this with all of you guys also. So let me get that up. This is really good. I like it a lot. All right, ready?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. Mm-hmm.
All right, here we go. This is Miss Amanda Jones, and I believe it's her wonderful husband. And I told him he needs to do more of this.
We're the reason that they made those fences taller. Oh, we're the reason that nobody thinks the cops are cool. We're the wild ones, wild ones, wild ones.
We're so happy.
The wild ones, wild ones, wild ones. We have always been a little wild.
I can't watch that.
We got drunk, we got high at the time of my life. We survive. We have always been a little wild.
That's cool. Wandering home.
Just breathe, just believe. Pull back, aim, let go.
Did he?
That's it.
Was that him? Was that him? Did he flow?
No. You mean was it him singing?
Was he Was that him rapping at the end?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. I'm like, dude, because he sounds like somebody else I know from this area. Like, wow.
But I absolutely loved it. It gave me goosebumps when I saw it. And you know, she's got the Wandering Footprint, and she's somebody that's out there trying her darndest to make a difference in the world and connect us all and make things easier for us. And so I just wanted to give her a shout out and give her husband a shout out for doing that, you know, being in a video, because sometimes we can't get our spouses, our significant others to join us in our journey.
Pulling mother plucking teeth.
It is. So anyway, that's my two. That's my two. Yes,
that's your two. Wow, man, you got some good ones. Well, mine actually kind of go with Alan's the part of the reason why Alan's here tonight. But yesterday was a tragic day for an individual, and they're not alone. They're definitely not alone in this. But it was a tragic day for someone in the XRP army space, in the crypto community space. Someone that's a participant in the comment section on this channel, Alan's channel, and I believe over at Jake
Claver.
Jake, man, I'm sorry. I do that to your name every time, but I can see your beautiful face, so I apologize. Anyway, so in the midst of this horrific event, which we're going to get into, the community came together like that. I mean, like, I'll share a little. I'll go into some more of my position later, but the people that I got in contact with, everybody picked up, everybody played a part in trying to help the situation. And I just got to say that was first off one of the most rewarding things to see on that side is their willingness to help. And I know I can't name everybody, but I know everybody that I got in touch with within the majority of my day yesterday. I really thank you for picking up your phones and offering your help and your assistance. You literally are the light on this earth, even though some of you might come across not so lighty. But it was great. It really was. It just, I mean, I was taken back to the XRP event that we got to participate at, Melissa, you and I, and Alan, and a whole bunch of other people. Like when people in this space, and you do have to lock eyeballs, you got to go through a little bit of a get to know you process. But when they say they have your back, they do. When they say they're going to help, they show up. And everybody showed up that I got in touch with. So that's my story for the 15 minutes of inspiration.
Yeah.
It was good. And also, please do this.
Do epic shit.
Do epic Shikaka.
Speaking of Shikaka, we have Mr. 68J in the house.
68J in the house.
And we have our wonderful, beautiful friend, Miss Kita. I want to say hello to Heather Michelle. This is a new one. And I can't even say this. Esmimo. Welcome to the Dipito Show. And Miss Joanna McGrath is here too. Welcome, Joanna. Thank you guys for coming. Really appreciate you.
I gotta talk about 68J real quick. Like I was scrolling through the social medias last night, and I came across a post, and at first I didn't recognize who was in the photo, and it was him. But I've only seen him with his New York Yankees hat on all the time. And it was the first time I seen him. I'm like, oh, he cleaned up for this picture. Yeah, this was a professional picture right here. It was kind of funny. I was like, who's that dude? Oh, dang. Looking good, 6'8". Looking good, buddy.
Very cool. Very cool.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's my friend Moni that's in here. So I'm so excited. Thank you so much for coming, you guys. Appreciate it. Well,
let's get rid of that.
Don't know, Mr. Alan Staple is the creator of the Staple Crew. He has a lot of followers. He's got a lot to say. He's a boat captain. He's one of our favorite people on this earth. And he's going to come on into the Dipito Show, and we're going to talk about security and the importance of not keeping track of our coins and tokens and
we're going to bring some darkness to the space that we know it's always there, but it hit close to home today.
But there is a light at the end of the tunnel, which what you already said. We started with the light, and now we're going to go with the dark for a moment.
That's right.
Without further ado, let's add Mr. Allen to the stage. Hello, Mr. Allen.
Hey, Captain.
Hello, everybody. So good to be here with you guys. Thanks for inviting me.
We appreciate you coming to the show.
We really do.
It's not the topic that I'd like to be on here about, but the love that's been poured out. Those of you, 68J, we met in Vegas. I know you're in the chat. That'd be great if you could maybe mention that video or do something for our girl as well. That'd be really cool. I want everybody who watches that video that I did earlier today, look it up first and share it. Share it with anybody you know who does XRP, because it's one of those short little 6-minute videos that's like tells a big story about who we all are and why we're in this together and what it means to some people don't have a big bag and that's all they have in life. And it's their hope for their grandkids and generations to come. And many of us, we wait until we're wealthy to do anything with our money or something. Well, when I get rich, Alan, one day I'm gonna do a whatever. This is an opportunity for you to help somebody today. And I know it's not the retail price that we all want right now, but it's really going to
Thank
help
God
somebody
it's
today.
not.
So, yeah.
I mean,
Thanks for having me on.
thank God. Yeah, thank God it's not the retail price we want today.
Yeah, amen.
Yeah,
Well,
that's right.
let's get into a little bit of the unfortunate thing that happened yesterday, and why
Sure.
what moved you to make that video in the first place. And I will say, once I get the link, I will add that link to this video, to tonight's video, so people can find it. And yes, if you guys would please share it out, that would be great. But please explain what happened yesterday with one of our friends, our wonderful, beautiful friend that is an XRP holder.
Well, I just got bits and pieces. Actually, Simon knows a little bit more about it than I do. But
Well,
there was,
take us up till you called me. How about that? I'll go from there.
Yeah. Well, yeah, there was a site earlier in the week that had my likeness on it. And we know how people are just, stealing and thieving and doing what they do. And just, it's terrible out there. And there was some download in that, and it really confused her, I think, to begin with. And she was just like, well, I don't understand. And then it was some ledger thing popped up on her screen, and then she thought it was associated, thought I was recommending it to some degree. And her health has been terrible. And it just, we get caught in these weak moments, or you're having an argument with your kids or a spouse or something, or the dogs, and then you just see this email or something pops up, and it's like you get triggered in the emotion of it. And you're like, well, I got to get to the bottom of fixing my wallet. And then you stumble into something that she's on crypto for years. She would have never fallen for something like that unless she had a really weak moment because of her health. And I really believe that to be true. And she's helped so many people in my chat and in your chat just understand what it is we all own and the prosperity that we're all going to. And every time I speak with Becky, it's always, well, these coins are for my kids. These coins are for my grandkids. It's not like, hey, I'm going to buy a Lambo or I'm going to do this or that. And it's so refreshing because she lives in Montana and it's a beautiful place. And I know she doesn't have a lot, but she doesn't need a lot because she wants to give it to the next generation. And that's what we always talk about, right, on these shows, is generational wealth, which is what it's all about. So Simon can take it from the point I got a frantic phone call to where it literally took me 2 minutes to figure out who I was talking to. I was like, doesn't sound like Becky. What is going on the other end of this phone? So yeah, take it away, Simon.
Okay, I'll do my best. Okay. So it was 11 a.m. West Coast time. I went out to my car to try to go fix my new ride. You know how that happens. I came back in. I saw I had 3 missed calls from Alan, and the phone was ringing, and so I picked up. And he said that Becky, and you've seen her in the chat here. She's on Twitter as Felix. Alan said that she's lost some coins. I said, okay, cool. He says, can you just call her now? And Alan's frantic. I can hear Alan. You were frantic yourself. I could tell you were out of sorts, and rightfully so. 3 missed calls within a short time period. So I got her number. Yeah, time is of the essence. So I called her, told her who I was, and at this moment, I really felt like I was a 911 operator for cryptos. She's crying. I can't make out any of the words, and so I'm just trying to really calm her down. And so that took probably 3 minutes, but it felt like 15. Just like trying to get her to calm down so I can get the information that I need to try to even have a way out, right? Catch something, anything, right? So I got her to explain to me what had happened. She says that all her coins were gone. I said, okay, where were they gone from? She said her devices. I said, okay, what devices? And so what finally came out was her 2 Ledger devices, and this was like a back and forth of getting information out, recognizing what happened, and bawling. And she kept saying, I've lost everything. I've lost everything. I didn't know it was really everything. I mean, I knew the coins were everything, but later I found out that like her financial situation, and I'm not going to get into it, but yeah, I know why she's in crypto. It reminded me of why I'm into crypto, what I got me here, but I'll go into that a little later. So here's what happened. There was a X post from allegedly Alan's channel. Okay, but that wasn't an original post. It was like a repost. So Alan's channel was reposting somebody else's channel, which was the Crypto Hulk. So she navigated to that because the post had said that Ledger been compromised. Well, she has ledgers. So she, of course, was like, went there to investigate what's going on. And I posted on my Twitter channel, and I tagged at Ledger in the post, and there's multiple posts because I couldn't put all the pictures on at one time. So I posted the whole online conversation, mainly trying to get what other, I already forgot their damn name, Ledger's attention of like, this is why you guys need a 1-800 number for stuff like this. Like, where's the human? Okay.
Right.
So anyway, so in that conversation, I can see where like what they wanted her to do was to reset her. She basically asked, the first thing right out the gate was, I heard that the Ledger's been compromised. What's going on and what can I do? And then it was like a true customer service response. When you read the text, they were offering help in regards to we need to reset your devices. Okay, it's okay. I'm going to walk you through it. Okay, and they sent step-by-step instructions. Okay, so in this moment, she's like, "What's going on?" And now I'm getting relief. Okay, good. Like, okay, someone's helping me, right? This looks legit. And I looked at the site or the channel, I don't know, wherever you want, the profile. I mean, it says Ledger Enterprises support. It's like, okay, that kind of all matches up. And the little ats were the same. Okay, that matches up. It's got a gold check mark for X.
Wow.
Right. Oh, yeah. Okay. So all these things are like bam, 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 and, kind of adding up. But enterprises, like that kind of, when I saw that, I was like, yeah, you're not going to catch that. You're not going to catch it. I probably want to catch that. Right. And even as I scroll back through the conversation to compare the, when you message somebody, you can look at their logos, make sure it's the same, maybe it was a backdoor hack or something, so I'm trying to analyze everything as she sent me all the conversations. And so anyways, back to the step-by-step instructions. There's a link there so she can synchronize her devices. And so she clicks that link. It takes her offsite so she can do this. Okay, do the synchronizing. And I've seen posts on that channel. Synchronize your da-da-da. Synchronize your da-da-da. After further investigation, it smells like poo-poo in there. But on the fly, I'm telling you, you're just not really going to catch it unless you're looking for the stink.
Yeah.
So she does that. She syncs the first one up, and in the process, on which you can't see in the conversation, she has to enter her seed phrase. Right there. Now, I know we talk about it on this channel. I know we harp on it, right? But like that right there is the ultimate red flag out in the space. Okay. When you get that, it is time to phone a friend. It is time to just to walk away, put the phone down, dial crypto 911 and get some assistance. But again, she's just trying to, I'm compromised. It's, we've all been here where FOMO builds up in your head, and you're getting yourself excited, but you can't even stop this train that you've kind of created, got triggered to create, but still you're not doing your part to try to take a step back because you're just trying to fix the problem, right?
Right.
So there's multiple times where she's giving up where it's like the words aren't working because they're in all caps, and she changes them all to lower caps, and so there's this correspondence back and forth. Have you done it yet? It looks like there was an error. Could you try this? Like, again, there's this customer service feel. The second part in the conversation that is a red flag to me is when the alleged customer service support individual asks, do you have any other devices? That was another flag. And actually there was one more in there where she's they're talking about the seed phrases on her second and she makes mention, hey, I got to turn on my second device. So she allegedly goes to do that because her next comment after that is it's low battery, I'm going to have to plug it in. The response, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to turn your device on. Okay, now we have another problem, right? But again, frantic. I could tell in the conversation, I'm just kind of like, yeah, I could see you're just like, what's going on? I'm trying to do this. Why the hell are you annoying me? Let me do what I'm trying to do. Customer support agent. God, you know what I mean? Like it's all chaos in there. So what ended up happening is she did the first one, and now she's moved on to number 2. Why that first one was done, what was happening.
Yeah.
Coins gone, 1 transaction. Did the second one, and I commend her. She had all her bags weren't in the same place. We talk about that, but safe place is only good as how you protect your keys. So she did the second one, and it was after that, boom. She knew what happened. She called down. She called me, and so I immediately called. I called Melissa right away because I knew a very, very smart individual, Mr. Patrick Riley. I love you, bro. Thank you for your assistance in that time. He gave me the lawful protocol that we needed to go through for that. So I was on the phone with her. There was others that are on Alan's team that gave me other contacts information like Coin Leader. Again, thank you. Also, Tim over at Pro Bitcoin Solutions, and that was try to see if there was a possible recovery, because that's been done over at that company before in the past. And Melissa, I know you're familiar with that. So with all that, and including Alan's team that was helping me on the back end. Oh, also The Voice. I want to shout out to The Voice. You also made efforts to try to get there, and again, gave me all that good information. The Voice was literally on the road and totally indisposed. There was nothing that The Voice could do that was super magical with 2 screens and an awesome CPU. So yeah, she lost them all. And I got the transactions here.
Absolutely heartbreaking.
Yeah, it is. I want to share the transactions, and then I'm going to share the where I went for the ledger, just so you guys can see it, because as I was tracking this on the blockchain, it led me to a wallet that has 7.2 million XRP. So I don't know if that's an exchange or if that's just a wallet, but I saw mass amounts of transactions that were sent. 300,000 XRP, 145,000 XRP. Like, this ain't no joke. These guys are playing for realsies, right? So
I saw a post yesterday too, when they were
try to calm down a little bit.
Somebody had posted about large volumes of XRP moving around yesterday. And then you called me, and it was like, oh gosh, I don't know if it's connected or not. I want to welcome, we have 328 folks joining us tonight on Dip-a-Toe. Welcome. Thank you so much.
We got the Quincy crowds in the house. Don't worry, guys. We're going to be with you in just a moment.
Quincy Jones will be in the second hour at 9 p.m. But we do want to welcome Money Paradise and our friend Northern Living Landon, who was a guest on a show. Was it last week or the week before?
Last week? No, a week before.
Week before. In any event, welcome to everyone. And if you'd please like, share, and subscribe, and share this space out, we'd appreciate you.
So here's the first transaction.
Can you make it all big? Let's make it all big. I'm gonna do it. There we go.
Yeah, let me do that.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. 16,500 XRP. Here's one transaction right here.
Now
Okay.
you want to explain to people
Sure,
actually
sure.
Simon,
Okay, so check it out.
The transaction ID and being able to trace it on the blockchain just so you can see if ever happens.
So when Miss Becky called me, this is what I was looking for, was a transaction ID. I can't highlight this, but for those of you that don't know, when you have a transaction ID, it's actually a hyperlink. You can click this and it's going to take you to the ledger or blockchain, and it's going to show you your transaction and what's going on in real time. It'll give you the same information here, but on the blockchain, which I'm going to share with you in just a moment, we're able to look at the receiving address and to see how much XRP they have in there. And I'm going to go to that site right now. So just give me a moment. I'm going to stop sharing my screen just for a moment. This could just take me just a second. Oh no, I don't want to do that. Don't do that. Don't do that either. Simon, stop. Come on. So if you're ever like wondering about a transaction that hasn't like cleared, or maybe somebody didn't receive it in 5 minutes, click your transaction ID number and it'll take you to the blockchain. It'll show you. And I actually recommend doing that. Hold on. I recommend you guys do that just for practice. It's definitely good practice. Sorry, I went to the wrong bookmarks. So just give me a moment here. It's not that one. Show bookmarks. This one? No. There it is. That's what I want. Other bookmarks? Yes. Oh, come on.
Yeah, so the time is of the essence when it comes to this.
Yeah, this is all on the fly. Like she's sending me text messages, screenshots. I'm trying to type in transaction numbers, public addresses, so I can at least check it out to see if it's there. And now I'm going to share the receiving. This is the receiving address. The takers. Sure.
The criminals.
Yeah, the criminals. So here's the address. And yeah, okay, cool. So here's the receiving address, right? Right here. This 2CUXM. We're gonna go back to this. Right down low. 2CUXM receiving address. There was 2 transactions and there were 2 different devices. I'll pull up the second one in a minute. 16,548. Let's go to this wallet and see what they've done. Right here. 16,000. Oh, I can't highlight. Come on, man. 16,548. That was one transaction. The one that came after was her second wallet. So
look at how many other ones are in there.
Yeah. Look how many other ones there. Now I'm going to scroll down because I just want to show you guys that 18,145,942 or 145,924 XRP. Someone's having a real crappy day right there. Someone's having even a double more crappy day. 300,027. Damn. Getting wrecked. I quote Eminem. Y'all gonna bring me back to the old me. Real talk. Yeah. Like I've made promises with my wife, and like this keeps happening. I'm gonna turn over a different leaf. It'll be all brand new, but it'll be very, very familiar. What I'm saying there is this has to stop. But what I love about this space is this the only space that comes together, even with sharing information, protection, love, support. Yeah. And that's part of the reason why Alan did the video that he did, because as I was speaking to Well, I was on the phone with Becky for about 4.5 hours yesterday, trying to
Yeah.
find a path, hitting walls left and right. And so I got to know her story. I'm not going to talk about her medical, but I know she's not doing good. I know she's on a breathing holes. I know she had to sell her business at a loss just to maintain. She has, most of us know about credit card and medical debts. She's got it, but the income that's coming in, it's less than 1,500. It's more than 1,000. That's per month. That's what she gets.
Yeah.
And it took her 4 years to get all that XRP by the grace of God. And so,
this is the importance of what we talk about, of having a network of people that you trust, and why we talk about going to events and meeting people in person and building your own personal family, your own personal network of folks that you can trust in the event that something like this happens to you. Before you make that decision, you can call someone.
Absolutely. Like everybody in here, I mean, I've met 50% of the people in here because I went to events. I've already got the relationship with there in the chat. So if you're in the chat right now, dude, just be a regular, say hello. It's just like that awesome bar movie, Cheers. You want to go where everyone knows your name. Anyways,
Right.
Then go to Vegas and shake their hand and give them hugs and loves. That's how you foster that. And I know, like, in a moment, I could call Miss Keita. And I know Miss Keita's going to give me a gem somewhere. And she knows this. She could call me, Simon, I need help. I'm like, what you got? What do you need? I'm here. What do you need? Like Solar Sam, Ron Woods. I know Rosemary has some faith in me because I have faith in Rosemary. It's just,
amen.
That's the network that we're talking about. And it takes time. It does take time to build that. But I mean, if she didn't have her network, Alan's number, she would not be doing as well, where she's at today. She would not be where she's at today. That by a long shot. Yeah.
The sad part of the equation is that she didn't call me when she had the question of, seed phrase.
Right.
That's when she should have called me and said, hey, they're asking for my seed phrase. I would have just said, back out. You're out. You don't have to be the first person to fix your Ledger Nano. Okay. Slow down.
Facts.
If there's something wrong with Ledger, you don't have to fix it the first hour. You don't have, slow down, back out, think about it, call somebody and ask them. I don't know. They asked me for my seed phrase. I know I'm smarter than that. What do you think? Hang up, deal with it, get out of it. Whatever you have to do to back out of that situation. Yep. But again, we get caught up in it and it's not easy. That's what Dipito is all about, right, guys? Is a lot of people that get started and learning and what are we going to do? We're going to share the bad with the good, and we're going to figure out how to do this and hopefully become more and more efficient. What I'm really worried about too is all the new people that are coming, and it's crazy. They're not going to know anything, and it's. And I don't want to get into government.
That's why we're here. That's why you're here. That's why the 416 people that are watching this show are here. We together, there are more good people than there are bad. And, I kind of see it as our job to help lift each other up and check 100%. Each other check yourself before you wreck yourself.
You better check yourself before you wreck yourself.
Give your number to one person that you trust at least, because in this community we're a network. So you might not directly have Alan's number, but you might have my number, you might have Simon's number, or you might be able to message us, and boom, we're gonna work to try to figure out how we can help. And the biggest thing of this show is to try to help those that are dipping a toe into this space. And the biggest rule of all is don't ever never share your private keys with anyone.
Private keys, seed
With anyone.
phrases, private keys, seed phrases,
Seed phrases.
private keys,
Yeah.
seed phrases. I don't care if Jesus himself comes down and says, "Let me look at that." You're like, you better go talk to Dad.
Right.
You know.
Yeah. Welcome,
You ain't
King
getting
Dover.
it from me. Yeah. Yeah. Check this out before you wreck yourself. I wanted just to share the second transaction, if you guys don't mind, just real quick, just for full transparency. So here's the second one. Again, here's the receiving address, 2CUXM, 8,429.
Yeah.
That's a lot of XRP.
Oh,
It is.
I tell you, yesterday was hard. It's a hard day. Go ahead, Alan.
Hard day.
Go ahead.
And the one thing I learned, like Simon has mentioned, the people that reached out to me that we now, Dave, well, I was going to say his name, but now I won't. But
Stop it.
Somebody reached out to me this morning and he was like, wow, that's what I do is cybersecurity for the system, if you will. And I was like, wow, we could have used you yesterday. He goes, you got my number. I'm around. And so we're building a network of people that can help you. We just can't help you after you've given your seed phrase. We just can't do that. Like, it's very difficult, almost impossible. I mean, with VPNs, it bounces around to 5 nations and you never find it.
It's fast.
Yeah,
it was fast.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, as I was tracking this in real time, I saw the coins there in that wallet that in that wallet that I shared with you, or that address, like they were sitting there for a solid hour and a half, dude. I was like, oh, thank God. We might be able to do something. We got some. Come on. Where's the fast fingers? I need fast fingers. It was there. And then actually by about, I think it was 1:30-ish West Coast, they were gone. They went somewhere else.
Can I ask
and
a
that's
question?
where it led. Sure, I was going to say that's what led me to the 7.2 million XRP over in that other wallet.
The good news is, though, this is blockchain and it is transparent. And you were on it and you were following those addresses.
Absolutely.
And so at least you had that information that documented in order to show, because the police report has been made, correct?
Police report has been made. Next step to or some other
tips from Patrick on the legal things that you need to go through in order to report this. So hopefully, in the future it'll be found. But that's the important part of it is, when this is happening, you were savvy enough to understand to go right to the blockchain and look at it and watch it move. You could see it move. And now where it goes from there, it's much more difficult. But I wanted to say we have about 15 minutes left to talk on this subject before our special guest Quincy Jones comes in. But I wanted Alan to have the opportunity to talk a little bit about what he did. He has his video. He spoke about that at the top of the show. But talk a little bit about the success so far in helping Miss Becky with her lost coins, and if we have any closing thoughts as far as securing our tokens and coins for that. And so, Alan.
Thank you. I've been on the phone off and on with her today, texting mostly, but as these coins pour in from the video, her attitude and her spirits just get better with each couple of 100 coins that come in. And she's so grateful and thankful that she has a family, the one that we do. It's piling in. I think she's like 25% whole again. I'm not going to stop until she has all of her coins back.
That's great, man.
Just completely annoy everybody until we get enough coins to make that happen. It's really, I said it in the video and it bears repeat. If you have an illness or you're down on yourself and you're not feeling well, the last thing you need is bad news, right? So if she can get great news, who knows? This could just
Yeah.
not just be a windfall. It's not going to be a windfall for her because the price is what it is yet. But what I mean is it could be an emotional uplifting of her recognizing that people care about her. People would miss her. You know, if she's not with us anymore, all of that adds to the positivity and that energy that she could be focusing towards being happy and healing and being healthy. And who knows, this could really snowball into a really great thing for her. And that's really what I'm hoping for her, because she's had such tough luck, as a lot of people do. And the other thing I brought up that's so big is all of us in the XRP, all of us in crypto, no matter what you own, we all have these family members, right, that are like, well, see, I told you so. Is that really what you need to hear after you just lost 25,000 coins? It's really not. It's like,
yeah, no,
you're like, oh, I told you the whole thing was a scam. And that's what you're going to hear. And it's just like, you just want to wring their neck, right? Like, you don't understand. The scam is the thief, not the coin, right? Not even Ledger, right? The thieves out there will find new and unique ways to steal from everybody. What annoyed me the most was that they used my likeness.
Yes.
And thankfully, we went right after him. As soon as I found out about it, I heard it from Farmer John. I think you know who Farmer John is.
Yeah.
And he said, hey, this isn't Alan's channel. What's going on here? So Simon sent me that. Again,
yeah,
we're all family. We have this group. As soon as I had that material, I was like, okay, I'm going to get my people on it and let's crush that thing. And we were in the middle of getting that taken off X and the rest when she unfortunately, timing wise, saw that. And it led to,
you know what's interesting, Alan, and Simon, you guys mentioned that the account that was scamming her has that gold coin, which means they're a paid account. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And so here's the deal. I mean, you gotta give your real information for that to be verified. So, I mean, I think it's a good chance this person could get caught, because you can't just get that without having your real information. And so, you know, we've got Twitter or X also involved then. And that obviously should be reported to the highest level at X too, because otherwise, I mean, look at, they probably are doing it to more folks, you know?
Yes. I would like to, first, Alan, you're talking about these coins that are being sent. So if somebody wants to throw a 5 XRP, 10 XRP to show Miss Becky some love, where can they go to do that? And secondly, does a tag need to be in the sending the process because it's XRP, correct?
Yes. The most secure way to do it is to go to alanstaple.com. That's ALLAN. It's a unique way of spelling Alan. ALANSTAPLE.com. That's the best way, because once you land on my website, there's a QR code. And then there's a picture of the video that I shot today. Okay. Then you know it's a secure location. Also, underneath the video, you can copy and paste, right, underneath. And that's another secure way to do it. That way, you're not getting somebody in the chat that's saying, oh, here's the code. Go ahead and hit it there. Right. You know what I mean? How they do that?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Because a lot of people can't find it, or, well, they don't know it's in the show notes down below. Perfect. And somebody says, oh, here, use this one. Here it is. I copied it for you. And then you punch that one, you end up, who knows who gets the money. And then we get ripped off twice. So the best way really is to go to my website. And that way, you know, you could tell it's my website because my videos are up and all the rest of it in there, and they can't duplicate that whole thing. So
I just posted it in the chat, and I also posted it underneath my post on X, because there's a lot of people watching this show on my channel. And so I just posted that. So you can go to alanstaple.com And then there
Thank
is
you so much,
there's
guys.
the XRP address there. If anyone is interested in giving 5 or 10 XRP, it would be awful nice. And I want to
Yeah.
say one more thing, because we have
Okay.
488 folks in here. I command that Miss Becky is healed from the top of her head to the bottom of her feet, and
Amen.
that she will recover, and she will recover all of her coins. And if we all say this together, and we feel this and we think this, thy will be done in the name of Jesus. Amen.
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 Um,
I believe it.
Northern Living.
She will be whole again.
I'll get back. Oh, sorry about that. Northern Living. I'll get back to you on the tag thing. We can talk about that later, if a tag is needed. He's just asking if when you send XRP, sometimes a tag is required. So he's just wondering if it's required. So I don't.
No, not in this case.
Not
Nobody's
in
having
this
any
case.
trouble
All right.
with it. So
All right. Yeah.
no,
there you go.
okay. There's one other thing I want to say real quick. Okay. When something like this happens, it's an opportunity to think the world just is terrible. Or it's an opportunity for all of us to come together and say, you know what? We're bigger than that. We're bigger than the problem. That problem, I mean, thank God it wasn't 250,000 coins, you know, but the problem has to be fixed. But the only way to escape, I say this all the time on my channel, to escape true tyranny is through crypto. And I know people don't understand that who aren't in crypto, but it's true. It's the only way for us to keep people honest. I know dishonest people have still found ways to rip people off, but the most honest thing we can have is a ledger that is pure and real. And that's my favorite thing about crypto is they're going to have to come to us, and the system is going to have to come to us and say, we have to adopt this because it's working.
Yep.
The failure was not in the code. It wasn't in the coin. It wasn't in the wallet. The failure, it was a human failure, which is always the case in crypto.
Yep.
So I just wanted to say that.
Thank you, Alan. I mean, as always, thank you for being such a leader in this space. You truly are. So thank you.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. I'm so grateful that you put me on before Quincy, because following that game, that ain't
come on now. Why is that?
No way. No
Can't
way.
keep up.
No, we're not doing that. No. Say hi to Quince. I miss the man. And we had so much fun together in Vegas.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Yeah. All right, guys. I'm out. I love you all. And check that site out and do what you can. And if you can't do that, give her a prayer. That's it.
Yes.
Yeah. Amen.
Amen. Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much,
Alan.
Alan. We love you.
Thank
Have a
you.
good rest of your day.
Okay. Bye.
Bye. Quite a story. Quite a. I'm thankful that that Becky has you and Alan in her life, and all the rest of the wonderful people.
And I'm thankful that we have everybody that's here. I mean, literally, I know there's 510 people out here watching. Quincy Jones is about to be on. I'm loving it, but that just shows the support and the people that want to, hear Quincy. They're stopped by this channel and they're showing us some love and giving us some of their time. And you can't get that anywhere. I mean, like not in the abundance that we have in this space. I mean, you get okay. I'm not going to bring sports into it, but you literally could be like Yankees fans and Boston fans. As long as you're down with XRP, you're like, okay, cool. Off season, we straight. Baseball season, nah, man. I'm gonna break your windshield, but I'll give you some XRP just because I love it.
Yeah. I'm so excited. Welcome, Immortal Cerrito. Is that how you say that? I hope. I'm terrible at pronouncing sometimes. And they say that's why education is indispensable to changing the world. Amen. 100%.
Facts.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is that we need to all recognize our power. the smallest deed, the smallest kind deed can impact someone's life greatly, and it creates a chain reaction of goodness and kindness and positivity and love and energy and all these things. And that's what I've said for almost every show, is how thankful I am for this space, and how wonderful all the people that I've met are in wanting to change the world. They have the desire to want to make a difference and change the world. And I truly believe in my heart that we can do that. Are there some bad apples out there? Obviously, we just spent the first hour talking about some jackass that robbed someone that is entire straight. And you know what? Those people, they're going to get what comes to them. Karma is a bitch. I said bad language. I apologize to those people.
She's my cousin. She's my cousin.
Yeah.
I want to touch on something else though, because I forgot
even
to
a
mention
smile can change a life. That's right.
Amen. Amen. Yeah, life with glee. What's good? So after I did my post on X,
yeah.
Oh man, that was a call to all the hustlers out there trying to scrape up some more. So there was a few people that reached out, and so I decided to go with one, and I kept looking at their stuff. I kept looking them up. I looked at their LinkedIn page as far as I could go. I was like, okay, you might be legit, but through that process, it was just too many red flags that were
absolutely.
That just, it was like, no, and you know, that, I mean, I'm not going to get into all the details, but it was, there was red flags after going through what she just went through. It's like, no, I'm not going through this again. So there was a lot of bot responses that I found, and I was just it was sickening, honestly. When you're just like, wow, like, where's the actual people? And then from that, where's the actual good people?
Yeah.
You know?
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. A reckoning must come. Anyways.
So I just got a text from Quincy Jones. Got my digits. He's getting ready to hop on here.
He's putting on a new shirt, man.
He's putting on his new shirt.
He probably just got back from the office.
Probably. Rosemary says might have to move to a bigger screen for Quincy. Amen, sister. Yeah.
Oh, you're gonna get blinded by that smile, man. That boy has a bright smile, man. And when he smiles, the soul comes out.
We both had the opportunity to meet him in Las Vegas and spend a little bit of time with him outside of the conference. You more than myself, but the few couple moments. I mean, he went to the karaoke place that we had so much fun.
I know that. I was getting ready to go up there with him.
He is such a genuinely nice person and funny and a fun person to be around. Incredibly smart. And you know, I was blessed to meet him, and Will Murr, that boy, he's a man.
He's a man. He's a man.
You know, it's funny you say that, Will, because I went all mama on him because we're
tell the story.
I've been watching him for a long time, and I really thought when I started watching the whiteboard videos and all of those types of things, I thought, you know, oh gosh, this kid is so smart. You know, I thought he was like 17, 18, 19, 20 at the most, you know. And then when we met him, we're like, oh no, this is a man. He's a man, you know. I mean, because the camera makes you look so much younger. I had him, but I told him I went mom on him because I said, you know, you're such an intelligent young man. Yeah, he's so bright. He's so innovative in the things that he's working on, and he has the gift of being able to explain things at a level that other people don't possess, which makes him just a true shining star in my eyes. And I said, you know, please make sure that you keep yourself grounded, keep your people around you, because there's a lot of vultures in this world, and particularly in this space. I'm sure the companies and the big dollar people, they want to lap him up. You know what I mean? And so I would think that the XDC network is blessed, more than blessed, to have Mr. Quincy Jones part of their team. And I just saw that he joined, so I'm going to do the little intro and we're going to get him in here. Please, there's 550 of you watching. Please share this out. Like our channel and subscribe and help us grow. We really would appreciate that. But for those of you who don't know, tonight we have Mr. Quincy Jones, who is a senior software developer at the XDC Network, where he plays a pivotal role in advancing blockchain technology and its applications. He has a deep expertise in decentralized finance and smart contracts, and Quincy's been instrumental in developing and supporting applications on the XDC Hybrid Network. His work focuses on creating innovative solutions that enhance the efficiency and security of trade finance through the tokenization of real-world assets. He's also known for his contributions to the developer community, sharing his knowledge and insights to help others leverage the power of blockchain technology. And we are super excited. He's a super great person. Welcome, Mr. Quincy Jones.
Hey.
Hey.
Oh, shoot. Can you see me? There we are. How you guys doing?
Yeah, I got you.
Good. How are you?
Doing great. Doing great. So happy to be on here. Simon, how you doing? Melissa, thank you for having me on.
My man. What's good?
It's been a while, but honestly, it's always a good time seeing you.
Likewise,
Super
my man. Likewise.
Yeah,
You've been busy.
Yeah, it's been a lot. A lot's been going on the past few months. Super fun. Made a lot of connections, worked with a lot of people, and funny enough, I haven't been online too much, but that's going to be changing a bit soon. I should be making more of a presence online. So that's gonna be cool.
Nice.
Awesome. So for those of the people watching that don't really know who you are, obviously you're the senior software developer at the XDC Network, but can you tell us a little bit about your journey, how you entered into the blockchain technology, and what led you to join the XDC Network out of all the choices you could have made?
Yeah, like my journey into the blockchain space is kind of funny. Before I got into blockchain, I was actually a cloud developer, primarily focused on AWS, working at a private equity firm in the middle of converting their legacy system into the cloud. And that was primarily focusing on lending to small businesses and evaluating the credit and evaluating the cash flow of different businesses to be able to lend to. So that was just like my job before I even got into blockchain. That sort of like set my not like mentality, but gave me the framework in which I look through things in blockchain. So a lot of people ask me, they're like, wow, you seem to see things in like macroeconomics or finance. Well, I came from a space from macroeconomics and finance. At the time I was in school, I was focusing on studying economics. So literally everything I came from was sort of grooming me to be in this position. But yeah, for a long time, I was working for this private equity firm, primarily just working on basically just converting their application to the cloud. And eventually, and they spent a little bit of time in dabbling in startups every so often, but eventually, like I think it might have been 2018, 2019, maybe 2020, there was like a bull market and everyone was into crypto. And we would see all these like neighboring firms like spin up all these random startups. At the time they were ICOs, right? And something as simple, as something as simple as a white paper was getting $20 million in funding. And this was crazy because, like you said, they dabbled. I would say about 80% of the business was in lending, and 20% of the business was in looking into new startups and spinning up new startups, and really all that was just finding like aspirational college students to invest in. But we saw all these other projects just take a huge like nosedive into crypto, and we're like, what is this crypto stuff? So eventually we started dabbling in Ethereum, dabbling in Bitcoin, see what can be done. Really, at first, it was just trying to get an understanding. And then there was this idea of like, how can you use the technology to be able to essentially do what we're doing at the time? How can we essentially use blockchain technology for lending? Is there a way we can use blockchain technology for lending? Is there something here? Because people were saying all this lofty stuff about finance and the future of
Right.
technology.
Right.
And that there was actually like one tiny button there. Everything about blockchain at the time seemed great, except there was a lot of volatility. The market would be up, the market would be down. It'd be really hard to be able to build an application and look at the volatility of these assets and essentially try to find some level of stability. So originally we were looking at, well, what can you do on the network versus what can you do with the token? Because everyone's focuses so much on the token.
Right.
We're like, what can we do on the network? So we started looking at different networks, from Bitcoin to Ethereum. We ended up going to XRP. We ended up making our way down the top 10 list. And eventually we ended up settling on Corda. Corda was just an amazing technology in which it didn't necessarily focus around a token. It didn't necessarily focus around a token. And it essentially gave, and there was a lot of other things too, a lot of documentation in terms of how to work with Corda and AWS. So that was also great. But it was just one of those things that we just started seeing what technologies can we use to be able to apply to the use case that we were using at the time. And that was just lending, like I said, small business lending and just looking into startups. But yeah, that was sort of like my intro. And after about a year or so of really getting familiar with blockchain, really getting familiar with Corda, really getting familiar with like XRP and other technologies, I ended up deciding to speak about it a little bit. And funny enough, there was a YouTube channel, what was it? Matty G. It was a YouTube channel I ended up going on. And I ended up speaking about my experiences, just what we were doing at the firm, how we were really at the time, it was just explaining like how you could use blockchain. But then it just started going into like, it's not really about the token. It's about all these services that can be built on top of it. And just going into my experiences with the services that we were thinking on, the way that we thought about how we can use this software for just different things outside of the lending, because obviously you can build different type of applications. And from there, I went sort of like micro viral, mini viral. At the time, I didn't have a YouTube channel and I didn't have a Twitter, but overnight I got like 30,000 YouTube subscribers, 20,000 Twitter followers.
Speed, bro.
I have to tell you, I watched that interview. I listened to that interview over the past couple of days, and my mind was like, boom. I mean, you did such a great job explaining things, and I was like, I'm so much more excited even to
actually, you know what's really funny about that? Oh, sorry, I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
What's really funny about that was when I was at the firm, I thought at the time I was focusing so much on the software, like how can we do this? How can we do that? We were building out this sort of service, and I'm like, how can we use the software to do X? But then in doing so, I spent so much time explaining blockchain, cloud, software to basically like these old geezer investor guys. I didn't realize that there was like this huge value point in being able to explain these things, because I just kind of assumed that, oh, everyone's talking about how to use blockchain, how to use the software. I just assumed everyone, sort of knew what to do with them. And I just sort of shared my experience. Like I said, when I was at that firm, when we got into crypto, I spent about 80% of my time explaining like really like what this thing is. There's a token, there's a network, you can build apps on the network, you can utilize the token, you can create these applications, people can lend, people can trade, explaining these aspects, right? And then explaining like, well, how can we utilize this for our service? Because that was another thing too. There's like, okay, now that this is a thing, how can we use it? So there's explaining that. And there was a time where I spent almost like half my time just sitting in front of a whiteboard, the classic whiteboard, right? And explaining all these different components of what we could do and what can be done. And really all I did was just take that sort of same mentality and I brought it online. And now I sort of have this online presence where I essentially spend a good amount of time explaining things. And at the very least, giving people a perspective that can give them something to work with and move forward in, as opposed to really just a lofty idea of what could be done, as opposed to what's being done. So at the time, I was focusing on talking about what I was doing at the firm. But eventually now I spend my time talking about what I do at XDC. And funny enough, when I went viral, funny enough, when I went viral, I got reached out by a zillion projects, a zillion.
I know you did.
Yeah. The one that I thought was cool is Apex reached out when Ripple Apex did their what's it called, their conference. They're like, oh, we would like you to speak, and I'm like, oh, that'd be super cool. And at the time, like there were just so many different projects coming up. Now, one of the biggest reasons why I thought XDC was interesting was at the time, although I was looking into Bitcoin, Ethereum, I thought XRP was really interesting. And I really like the idea of cross-border remittance and the means of being able to really find liquidity and be able to like find the means of being able to trade a token faster, or at least very much be able to find more people to trade with. The fact that the network's index, the fact that all these different things, I thought it was very interesting. And because I sort of focused a little bit on that, I sort of gained a bit of attention in the XRP community. But everywhere I saw XRP, I saw XDC. And at the time, I was like, well, XRP doesn't really have smart contracts. I don't know how we can build complex applications. I see how we can build finance
Right.
applications. I see how we can, expand liquidity, find trade partners, do all this. But how can we
Deep dive.
build, almost like traditional applications,
Yeah.
apps,
Yep.
So when I saw XDC, every time I saw XRP, I'm like, oh, here we go. Well, you might have this sort of network focusing on being able to expand trade partners and being able to expand liquidity and trade. You might have this network being able to focus on applications around trade. And really, at this time, we talk about it as trade finance. But the biggest thing is I was like, we can essentially create these finance applications utilizing smart contracts on this network. And I just saw them everywhere. Like, it was just one of those things where I'm like, it was one of those things where when they reached out, I got a little giddy. But it was one of those things where I was like, who knows? Like, this could be one of the next future of finance. Now, you may go, Quincy, there's a ton of networks. There's a ton of people that claim to be the future of finance. And that's true. But it was just one of those things where they really caught my eye because of the community I was in at the time.
Right.
Ah.
Always
So-
the community. It's always the community. Because that's the
So-
team, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
Go ahead,
how does the XDC well, when I was looking it up, it was referring at the XDC Hybrid Network. How does that differentiate itself from the other blockchain platforms? I mean, and also, I guess to add to that question, I also found that it uses the hybrid consensus mechanism. What does that even mean? Like, how is that different?
It's not a hybrid consensus mechanism. Let me clarify that a bit. So when we talk about a hybrid network, typically when people talk about public networks or public blockchains, they look at them as layer ones, layer twos, and they see how you can build on top of these other networks. XDC and essentially everyone around the XDC ecosystem are primarily trying to focus on being able to bring institutions into the blockchain space and allow them to bring sort of a TradFi to DeFi. And with that, you can't necessarily put all of your information out there in the public, whether this is PII data, whether this is documents, whether this is just internal accounting. So with the hybrid in the XDC Hybrid Network, instead of creating public layer twos or public layer twos on top of the layer one, you can essentially create a private subnet in which you can essentially have just a private blockchain to be able to maintain a lot of the information that would otherwise, be, away from prying eyes. But then you can also move. Yeah, in-house. There you go. You have an in-house accounting mechanism that can allow you to use the same tools for the public networks. But then you focus on that in-house accounting for the private stuff and then start moving over those assets onto the public network to be able to find liquidity. So the hybrid aspect is being able to have a private network, a subnet, to be able to manage private aspects, and then being able to push assets to the public network.
Push it out there to the public. Yeah, no, I got that. That makes total sense. It's like car manufacturers building the concept car down in the back cave, and then it's like, okay, this works, and we're not going to kill anybody. Let's send it out there and see what happens and find.
I love that you say that. I love that you say that because imagine there's so many concept cars that we probably don't even get a chance to see, and there's probably parts of those concept cars that actually didn't come out to the full product. And it's one of those things where it's like business. Now I say this because the crypto space is really it's really interesting. You have a little bit of this open source community aspect, this social media community aspect, this retail trader community aspect. When it comes to businesses, they're not worried about any of that. They have some product in mind. They have a set of clientele. They have something they're trying to build, and they're not really like out there to advertise it or to broadcast it to the whole world. But they want to be able to focus on being able to trade with further trade partners on these public networks versus trying to foster just communities. Now, what ends up happening is when they come over to different blockchains, they're like, well, how can I build an app on this blockchain? And they basically find this point where, well, it seems like most of the blockchains are focusing on this community aspect, which is good, but how can they focus on just being able to build a service for their clientele without necessarily exposing all of their data or exposing all of their activity in the public eye? So there's this aspect of trying to cater to different institutions in terms of being able to allow them to have that sort of that onboarding process into crypto in which they can essentially create a provision, a private environment to be able to test all these things out, to be able to run all these applications that they want to run in-house. And then once they finally feel comfortable in the type of things that they built, they can start pushing those out to the public and have other people and other brokers and other partners be able to exchange with those assets, or at the very least be able to exchange with those applications that they may release.
Yeah, no, that Melissa, did you catch all that? Because I did. Okay.
I'm gonna listen to my friend.
You're gonna slow it down to 0.75 on the replay. Okay.
Oh yeah.
No. That's real. That is very, very fascinating because here you have, right now, it's been talked about, we're going from 3D to 5D, and right now we're in 4D. We're taking like a lot of the old system, right? I know you've heard that. We're taking the number two pencil and the pen and pad, and we're trying to get it over into the full digital, And so here's all these companies, and products even, and they're trying to say, well, okay, how can we create this and keep it still how we used to have it in our shop, with security guards, but still we could still push stuff out every so often, every year, and see how the response is within our community and then public, right? That's how things used to come out, just in the, like your kitty laser thing you got going on over there. I love that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, dude. I
Pretty
recommend
cool.
with the dog too.
So is this meaning they use the public blockchain for the liquidity and the speed, and then the private is where they're transacting, to where it's not public, and they can still do their behind closed doors type of transactions? The
way I like to put it is it's internal accounting versus expanded liquidity. So traditionally, when businesses would want to be able to sell an asset, they can only sell an asset to as many trade partners as they may have. So if I'm a bank or a broker or somebody and I have 10 partners to trade with, I only have 10 partners to trade with. If I can be able to take that asset and bring it into a DeFi environment, anybody who can engage with that DeFi application can now engage with. So if there's 1,000 people out there, I don't need to shake 1,000 hands and say, hey, nice to meet you. I can essentially have that asset accessible to them. And then I can have the private network for my internal accounting. And really the biggest thing I like to put in that is there are certain assets that may be on their books that aren't necessarily for sale yet. But once they are for sale, you can start pushing them out there. You see what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Yep. No, that makes total sense. Now, can that work? I mean, I would assume it doors open both ways, right? So you have that internal accounting. Now they have far more liquidity out there because it's global, right? Now, can that work on the opposite end? Hey, we like this thing you've done. We're willing to give liquidity, but can we bring it back in-house to our network to see if we can add to it to make sure it works?
Yeah. Actually, so the way I would put it this way. Not everyone who's creating these private networks needs to focus on tokenizing to bring them onto the public network. They can buy tokenized assets and bring them into their internal accounting system and bring them into their internal services, internal products, and all of that. So now they can have access to all of these assets that would otherwise been relatively difficult to access, and now be able to offer them to their clientele without necessarily going through an incredibly difficult process to do that.
Hi. What was your name?
Yeah.
Hi.
Literally. We like to put it as bringing TradFi to DeFi, because that's the thing, people talk about DeFi this, DeFi that, and there's a lot of services that are very advantageous for traditional finance, but a lot of these organizations aren't. Well, one, they're sort of a little nervous around blockchain for different reasons, whether that's the different nodes and who's responsible and the quality of the network, all the way down to just the volatility of the assets. So they want to make sure that they have a simple and safe means of being able to come on chain with basically free of a lot of that risk. But then when they finally want to start expanding that liquidity, they can essentially be comfortable with the assets that they have, with the application that they have, and start being able to move with people on the public network. So the biggest thing is just being able to, one, expand the amount of trade partners that you have, but also feel comfortable with the traditional tech stack that you have and being able to integrate that into Web3.
Yeah, because otherwise, I mean, so if they're able to tap into this, then they don't need all of the tech developers in-house, at every company that employs this, right? I mean, they still need their tech teams and whatnot, but this is them, right?
I'd put it this way. Never before, and this is my favorite part about blockchain. I saw this back when I was at the firm. So let's say I wanted to start my own firm, right? I'm just a regular nobody. I would have to start going out and making those contacts. Maybe I talk with some of the senior, some of the senior guys at the current firm I'm at. Maybe I speak to neighboring firms. I need to make a lot of contacts, just for me to be able to create a finance product and be able to offer it to people. Never before could I create a finance product, offer it into the public domain, and anybody can now engage with it versus me having to make all these relationships. Now, you may say, well, what about the regulations? What about that? Even in that regard, I can create an application that's accessible So instead of me having to go through there was a whole bunch of stuff we had to do internally when we were engaging with different, I guess not even different partners, but just different people that we worked with. It was incredibly slow, and you still had to know who they are. I could build an application that's incredibly useful, broadcast that I have the application, and 20, 30, 100, 1,000 different firms can say, hey, I like that app, let's start trading with it, instead of me having to go out and make these connections. So there's this aspect where a single individual or a single set of individuals can have access to more people than they ever could before, without necessarily having to go and literally have like guys on the ground, like whether it's like a sales team or whether it's like a whatever, people actually trying to interact with people to tell them that these things are here. They can literally interact with it on the public chain. It's a public network. It's a simple means of being able to exchange. If the asset is out there, you're able to access it. Versus, like I said, versus a relationship that we may have. So now, instead of having to focus on trying to expand their trade partners, they can essentially put these public applications out, maybe advertise a little bit. Now anybody can engage with them, so they don't necessarily need to focus on that one-on-one relationship in terms of trade. Right. And this works for everything too. So, and then there's a level of obviously like immutability, and you're able to audit the network, and you're able to see there's a lot of stuff that comes with that too as well. But it's that means of being able to expand your partner base without necessarily needing to go and get your hands dirty.
Yeah, the old school chain is broken of how things were done, right? We leapfrogged, and now we're working backwards essentially. Like, you got your asset out there, and you're exposed to other traders, right, or users, right? And they're like, dude, we like this. Now I want to come shake your hand because something really cool, right? Right. So you've essentially leapfrogged and said, no, we're going to take it this way, we're going to spin it, and we're going to go through this way, and then we'll shake hands at the end because wow, this is fire for us, right?
Well, one analogy I always have is before social media, the biggest audience you could have would really be dependent on how big of a arena could you book. You know what I mean? Right. I wanted to do a speaking in front of a bunch of people. I wanted to do whatever. Now with social media, I can post out a tweet and 100,000 people now see it. I can now make a video just like this, a live stream, and hundreds of people see it. And we're not limited by the physical space. I don't need to rent out an arena and that has like 1,000 seats and only 1,000 people can show up. Any number of people can now show up. It's sort of like that with trade. It's sort of like that with finance now. You're not limited by the scope of your environment. You can now have access to anyone globally.
Yeah, you're only limited by your bandwidth.
Yeah, yeah.
Totally, man. Oh my goodness. So you've been busy. You haven't been online. Where you been, bro? Give me the stories, because last time I saw you, we were having a good time in Vegas. I'm not going to talk about that about here because that was such a good time.
What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, baby.
I saw you made it home. So what happened? You went to your next stop was Consensus, right? After Vegas.
It might have been. There was quite a things coming up. Consensus was good. Consensus was really good. But I wouldn't necessarily say that was sort of like the main thing I was sort of focusing on. So sort of for the past few months, the biggest thing now has been, one, how do we get more institutions to feel comfortable about blockchain? For a while, we've been trying to focus on expanding our developer community, trying to expand our social presence, trying to get people to understand what XDC is. But then we're also trying to figure out, well, how can we get more people building on XDC, and how can we start taking those real world assets, or how I like to say, tokenized trade instruments? How can we start taking these organizations and being able to provide them value with our network and have them have a simple means of being able to convert? I speak with so many different people, whether they're developers, whether they're businessmen, whether they're whatever. And the biggest problem, at the very least for traditional businesses, is there's no streamlined way to be able to take whatever assets they have in their database, in their traditional systems, and bring them on over into the blockchain system. So one of the biggest things we've been primarily focusing on is, one, sort of like scoping out their needs. One thing you sort of need to understand is, what is their experience before they even get into blockchain? Because we can talk to them all day of all the benefits of blockchain, but if their experience doesn't necessarily perfectly line up, we essentially need to be able to find what fits their use case. So once we essentially got a chance to starting to see what fits their use case, the biggest thing is, how can we essentially build better tools to make it easier for them to come on chain? And when they are on chain, how do you make it easier for them to trade or engage with other people on chain? You see this a lot where everyone wants to launch a new project, but we're not seeing projects interact with each other. We're not seeing assets move from different DeFi applications into other DeFi applications. And we want to be able to, because that, yeah, exactly. It expands the availability for everyone, it expands the liquidity for everybody, it expands everybody's business. but everyone's siloed right now. So the biggest thing has been primarily trying to collaborate directly with different organizations, whether it's the smallest different startups, all the way up to big organizations, and finding out what their pain points are, and then being able to satisfy those pain points in terms of being able to onboard them on chain. And this could range from, because I don't want to get too into it, this could range from working with them directly and then having our development team work with their development team in terms of being able to build different things out, all the way to sort of like being an advisor or being a consultant and having them work with other partners on chain so they can essentially utilize each other's services.
What
That's
are
dope.
do you have some real world applications, examples of XDC network interoperability with other blockchains right now?
So the biggest thing that really allows for interoperability are the bridges, and we have a huge scope of different bridges, whether that's the Impel bridge or the Wanchain bridge. There's even a bridge called the Swift bridge, no relation to Swift, but it's called the Swift bridge.
I was going to
But
say
the
that's
biggest
a
thing
real
is,
bridge.
but no, the biggest thing is being able to enable bridges, and then being able to enable liquidity to cross the bridges. So right now, one of the biggest things we're focusing on is being able to bridge liquidity of USDC and USDT from other networks, and being able to bring that liquidity onto XDC. It's been a big prerogative for a while now. So for a couple of years, we've had bridges, but now we're really trying to push volume through those bridges in the form of stable coins, so we have more liquidity on chain. And that's kind of the big focus right now, is being able to utilize stable coins for those bridges.
No. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you need that. Because that's what makes you versatile globally. I've heard this multiple times, and we talked about it in Vegas, man. It has to be easy. It has to be easy. It has to be easy for them. Otherwise, it's not going to work. It has to be easy. The points that you brought up. What are your pain points? What are your scopes? What are your needs? How can I make that tool easier for you to come over here to play ball and you be a success on this network? Yeah. That makes sense.
And we've seen a lot of different use cases, from tokenizing invoices to automating leases with smart contracts. So we see a wide variety of different applications, and a lot of these either come on, whether it's through a subnet, whether it come on through whether they're utilizing another organization's application. Like we saw a few different organizations use Trade Trust. I believe there was one startup called Digital Transformation Group. These guys are super cool. They were utilizing Trade Trust to be able to tokenize documents, to be able to verify. The biggest thing was being able to verify documents between shipping companies whenever they were going to ship to each other. And they were going to use the blockchain to do so. And it's just cool to be able to see the different use cases being able to sort of come arise. Because what we see, because a lot of people go, what are use cases? What are use cases? What are use cases? The use cases already exist. They haven't found a way to bring them onto blockchain. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. They were already doing this, right? But they see a better, more efficient way to do it on chain.
Yeah. And that's literally the difference. But the efficiency. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get what we do today and bring it into the efficiency of tomorrow.
Exactly.
That becomes a new norm.
Very interesting. One example with that is it's almost like it's almost like companies and emails. I'm not sure when email became popular, but let's say it was like the 80s or 90s or something.
90s.
Imagine you're a company and you just set up email and you're like, this is great. I love email. We're able to email. We're able to send all this information to all of our employees. We're able to do all this. But then let's say you need to go interact with another organization and they don't use email. Well, let's say you have to send them a letter. Well, whatever business you were already doing, you would have sent them a letter anyway. It's just a lot quicker to be able to send it through an email or send the document through the email. And it's exactly like that. It's not like someone's using email to create some new contrived mechanism that's never been done before. No, they're using, and maybe some people do. Don't get me wrong. There are ways to utilize email in a way that people weren't able to utilize, like sending letters. But the biggest thing, like 80% of the uses of email, is what people were already doing before they had email. You see what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Spot on. I'm really curious. I'm really curious how this is going to play into the whole life insurance industry. Because as you know, we talked about the infinite banking concept briefly down there in Vegas, and for me, I'm like, wow, that's just a contract. I'm curious how the smart contracts are going to play within the insurance company in the future, and the insurance company doing their investing. I mean, now they have the means, the blockchain, XDC, can go out, find their liquidity that they want, as opposed to the relationships they've had for the past 100 years.
Actually, I love that you bring that up, because when tokenizing trade instruments like contracts, the way I like to look at it is, people go, how do you put a contract on chain and it's automated? What is this? really, when it comes to smart contracts, is being able to set a series of conditions and triggers. And whenever those conditions are met, or whenever another contract triggers another contract, is essentially enabling a process to be had. And that's really all it is. So it's essentially allowing for a set of conditions to be met. And then when those conditions are met, they can interact with other contracts for another set of conditions to be met through a set of triggers. And on and ongoing. And I say this because you're able to do this without any intervention from any individual party. So you can have a collection, a syndicate of 50 different contracts doing 50 different things in a DeFi environment, all triggering off of each other automatically based off of whatever sort of environment's being triggered, whatever sort of things being played out. So that's the thing that makes it really, really interesting, because something like life insurance, it's literally just a set of conditions and a trigger, right? And once the set of conditions are met, the trigger is hit, something releases, it goes out, whatever. It's very, very, And then that's the thing though, right now we rely on a human on the other side of the phone or on the other side of the email.
Phil, Bob, what's happening?
And that takes a lot of time. It's so funny that you say that, because when I worked at the firm, one of the biggest things, their business was old school. So when they were lending to small businesses, what they would actually do is when someone submitted an application, there would be like someone in the office that get the application, and then they would need to call up the underwriter. And really, when they were lending small businesses, they were lending to small businesses for businesses to be able to buy equipment. So this might be like a restaurant buying a freezer. So when they went to make that application, they made the application on a vendor's website. So when someone in the office gets the application, they have to call the vendor and say, all right, do you have this in stock? They have to call the underwriter, and the underwriter to tell them that they have all the stuff. And then they have to coordinate with the vendor and the underwriter to make sure it gets approved. And that would take so long. And this had nothing to do with blockchain. This would take like a week. When we were moving to the cloud, we were trying to get it to be done in a couple of days, maybe in 24 hours. There would still need to be manual intervention, but that's another trigger. Now imagine taking all of that out, and the triggers are able to be automated. The application goes through. We would do a credit check, and we would actually ask them information to try to see on their cash flow of their business. So we would run the credit of the business owner, but also sort of take some information on the business, run the check, run the conditions. Normally they'd get a report, but instead of a report, it would just check the triggers, see if you could check the triggers. And if you could check the triggers, it'd be very easy. And then imagine if the underwriter and the vendor had their own smart contracts. They check their triggers, check their conditions. It'd be a lot less friction instead of literally having, Joe on the phone going, hey, vendor, do you have this in stock? Hey, underwriter, do you have this? Oh, hey, vendor and underwriter, you got it. You know what I mean? It's just
or one of them like, I can't. I'm hungover.
I'm not at work. I'm going on vacation.
I'm going to pick up the phone. Yeah.
Sheila didn't show up for work today. So you make I do like the little simple thoughts with my Excel spreadsheet and the if then that, if this then that type mentality when you're building out a worksheet. But a smart contract to me is kind of a similar concept because you're automating a process. I just wonder when it comes to smart contracts and you create these, I'm starting to learn, Quincy, about a little bit of things. I'm dipping my toe. I'm an ambassador for the Chicago coin. And I've never looked into the back end of someone making a coin. And so, I have some friends that have made coins and things, and there's all of this, renouncing of the contract and all these different things. But it gets me thinking when it comes to these smart contracts, once they're built, who governs them then? Like if a smart contract's put in place, like you were giving examples, what if a change needs to be made, or how does that work when you build a smart contract for something? How does that work? And is there a way for it to be changed or manipulated in any way? What prevents that from happening?
So it depends on how you build the contract. You can build upgradable contracts. There are risks to that. The biggest ones that you end up seeing is someone creates like a DeFi app, it's upgradable, someone gets a hold of the keys, they swap the contract out and upgrade it to something that sends all the funds to their account. There are risks with that, but you can make upgradable contracts. There are like blue-green methods to be able to go from contract A to contract B and start migrating users over. There's a lot of different ways to be able to deal with contracts in that regard. But when it comes to the contract itself and who governs the contract, you can make the contracts like just self-governing, autonomous set of rules, or you can essentially create utility tokens that can give permissioned access. So if you want to administrate administrator access, you want client access. You can actually create utility tokens that can limit who has access in what capacity as well. So there are different ways that you can essentially design smart contracts to allow for different levels of use and different levels of permissions. I was going to say something else, but it just escaped me. But yeah.
But those are important questions for someone to understand prior to entering into any type of a smart contract, right? You want to familiarize yourself a little bit with that, it sounds like, whether it's something that can be changed or not.
I would say so. The issue with smart contracts isn't so much that they can't be changed. Although, like I said, there are some upgradable contracts. When smart contracts first came out, I don't think the upgradable component was necessarily a thing, but there are upgradable contracts. The biggest thing is a slight mistake in the contract can have like huge ramifications. And that's sort of something new to blockchain. Never before could a simple bug instantly, allow for the liquidation of millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars like that. And it is very like concerning as well. So it does essentially like raise the stakes in terms of how people are able to deal with finance, but it also brings a level of transparency in which you're able to see all the inner workings of a particular application. That's the best part about a smart contract. I can see the smart contract. I can see who's interacting with it. I can see the history of it. I can see all of this. Where if it was my traditional application, I can run the application in my own private database, my own private server, and you never see any of that. You see what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
One thing I wanted to touch on here is, so because you guys are reaching out to these bigger institutions and businesses, I'm sure one of their questions relate to the regulatory compliance and know your customer requirements and all those types of things. How does the XDC network address those type of things, and what are you doing to make sure that your customers are comfortable as far as compliance, regulatory requirements?
I love that you bring that up, because the biggest aspect of regulatory compliance is making sure that the people that you're trading with are compliant. So the biggest thing that we would like to sort of like reassure when people are coming onto the XDC network is that you're not coming onto a network and just sort of abstractly trying to apply, random compliance measures. The people you engage with are regulatory compliant, whether they're regulatory compliant in Europe, Singapore, India, wherever they are. The biggest thing is the people or the applications that are on chain, the applications that you can engage with, operate by whatever level of compliance that's necessary. And the reason I say that is the biggest problem with crypto, which is arguably the best thing about crypto, is anybody can do anything. Anybody can do it. So I can create a token, you can create a token, But the thing is if you have a network full of regulatory non-compliant assets that are essentially just lofty-doffy, floaty speculator tokens, it becomes relatively difficult to get new businesses in there because they're not necessarily sure who they can engage with and who they can't. But being able to have a set of applications on chain that are already abiding by compliance standards, it makes it a lot easier for those businesses to come on chain and know who they're dealing with.
Right.
Yeah.
Again, back to what you were saying before, taking that old and get it to the new. So the regulations over here in this world, now we're just having that we're mixing that into the code or the protocol of what they can engage with. And that's the compliancy.
Yeah. So making sure, and we say this because we have different organizations abiding by European MiCA compliance. We have stable coins abiding by Euro standard compliance or USD standard compliance. We have different organizations that actually, XDC was the first network to create an NFT that was a representation of a security, as well as being able to have tokenized treasuries in the form of, or stable coins backed by tokenized treasuries. And all of these are all under the guise of compliance based off those different organizations that are abiding by them. And then as new organizations come onto the network and see that, they feel a lot more comfortable with engaging with these assets and engaging with these technologies versus, ApeCoin that got launched last week with some random DeFi protocol. You know what I mean? It's about building trust. And part of that trust comes from having partners on chain that are also abiding by standards that they deem valuable.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well,
and that's necessary, right? You got to. It's got to be there. It's got to be in play.
You got to make it easy. Yeah, it has to be easy.
Got to make it easy. That's the only way.
I got burning questions.
Yeah.
So I mean, I know we got you for 20 more minutes, and so I know a lot of our listeners are XRP holders, You know, there's a lot of Bitcoin people, XLM, XDC. I'm wondering, like, so the technical question or the created question is, well, what trends do you see shaping the future of blockchain technology in the next 5 to 10 years? But I want to expand on, what role do you see these key, you know, what they call ISO 2022 tokens, coins? How do you see all of this playing out in the future to work, to interoperate together? Because we know it's not just going to be one chain to rule them all. There's going to need to be some collaboration and interoperability, and it's clear that the XDC network is working towards that. And so I just wonder, as a expert in this field, where do you see things going with all of this?
So I see this from both the developer side, but also from a business side. It seems like the networks are going to be domain specific or almost industry specific. A
Yep.
lot of people sort of look at their network as like the general network. It's going to do everything on it, and they sort of criticize networks like, "Oh, I don't see this on it." But really, what's going to happen is these networks are going to be very specialized for a very specific type of activity, and each
Yep.
network is going to have a specific type of activity that people go to that network for. So let's say, for example, like XRP is cross-border remittance. Let's say for XDC is automated trade finance and being able to create automated debt contracts. Let's say for another network, it's GameFi, different games are sort of there. Another network, it's supply chain. Whatever it is, a lot of these networks are going to be domain specific. And I say that because there are a lot of different applications that can operate within that domain. And those applications overlap with each other in terms of whether it's finding liquidity, in terms of whether it's trading. Because if you have one network with a supply chain application on it, it'd be very beneficial for all the other supply chain applications to connect with those other supply chain applications versus trying to jump through network to network for different types of engagement. Same thing with cross-border remittance, same thing with trade finance. So I think the biggest thing that you're going to end up seeing, and I see this too, like I say this from a developer perspective, because when I see different developers, part of the reason why they go to different networks is because they see people building those specific things and they can see that their applications can interact with those things as well. And it doesn't necessarily mean that each network is going to be like this walled garden only doing one thing, but it is going to mean that when people go to different networks, they may not just go to one, they will go to one for this reason, one for this reason, one for this reason. And the reason why I brought up the bridges and the stable coins is a lot of people are thinking, oh, well, I create a tokenized asset and move it to a bridge over here. That's not typically what's going to happen. It's going to be capital from one network moving on to another network to engage with another type of activity. You see what I mean?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. No, that's that's already there though. I mean, we're already seeing that big time in the stablecoin community. I mean, first it was Tether, and then you have USDC, but now they're on different chains. You go onto any exchange right now. If you're buying, you can have that. You can have that stable coin on that chain, on that network, right? That's totally a thing. Absolutely. Yeah. That's and you got to have that because it's like you're saying, and I totally see that. You're doing business over here. Okay, cool. You got your liquidity in this stable coin, but it's on that network. Okay, cool. We need the bridge. We need to switch it up. We do that. We do the crossover. Boom. We're onto that network, doing that thing, doing that business, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that is key. I think that is key because everyone thinks their network is is the network, but it should be the network for this thing, right? And that's what I see. Because what ended up happening when you start looking at it that way, instead of looking at 20,000, crypto networks or the top 100 crypto networks all competing with each other, you only really find you find these clusters, and you might find 5 or 6 networks competing for this specific activity, and 5 or 6 networks competing for this specific activity, and they're all not competing with each other for the same thing because people go to those networks and people build different things on those networks for different things or for different reasons, and people will go to them for those reasons, and they tend to be a lot different. Primarily, like I said, domain or industry specific. And then those applications will interact with each other. Like I said, whether if it's a supply chain application, it'd be great to interact with other supply chain apps. If you're a cross-border remittance, well, every country has applications operating in cross-border remittance. You want to be able to have a network and engage with everybody in that. It's being able to find that domain and then be able to find that specific industry to be able to satisfy that type of service. And then that's really the thing with business. That's really what I see now is that businesses are going to go, okay, we're going to go to this network for this. We're going to go to this network for that. And we're going to mostly focus on that because everyone seems to think that they think that the business is going to choose one network and that's it. BlackRock chose our network. We won, guys. We won. BlackRock chose us. We won. We won. It's like, no, like
y'all can eat, bro.
Yeah. And it's like they're there for a specific activity. They'll go to another network for another specific activity. They'll go to another network for another type of activity. And it's really what ends up happening is, are you guys familiar with the Metcalfe effect or Metcalfe's law?
Yes.
Oh, you talked about I remember you talked
Yeah,
about that.
the networking
Tell our
effect.
audience
where
a little bit about that. Can you expand on it for the audience?
In a network, each additional participant creates an exponential amount of connections. And
Yep.
what ends up happening is these connections aren't just general connections. They're usually focused on, you can see this with social media. Like if that was the case, there'd be one social media application, that's it. But people go to Instagram for pictures. People go to Facebook for family. People go to Twitter to yell at
Yeah,
each other over.
yeah.
But the thing is, you go to specific applications for that specific type of engagement. You would never go to Facebook so you can, I don't know, maybe you might tell off your uncle or something, but the same type of activity that you see on Twitter, you're not going to see on Facebook. Same activity you see on
No,
Facebook,
yeah,
you're not going to see on Tumblr or 4chan, right? They have a very specific type of activity, and the people that come onto those applications engage in a specific way. Same thing when it comes to these blockchains. So that's a good way to look at it.
No, that's great. That's great analogy. That just shows, but that just shows that's a digital representation of human behavior overall, right? Just is, right? Even down to the everyday work you be. Where do you shop? Why do you shop there? Well, because there's nowhere else. But if there was somewhere else, where would you go? I'd probably go over here. Why? Because of X, Y, Z. Same, right?
Exactly.
Human just comes back down to human behavior.
No, I love that you put it that way. Because there isn't just one. And technically, it's hard to point down one thing because you can break that one thing into other things and break those one things into other things. And at a certain point, when it gets too big, it's not one thing anymore. It's a collection of things, and those collection of things do different things. And it's good to acknowledge that because I think people look at everything as a monolith sometimes, and you have to remember that there's a lot of things going on all at the same time. Like I see this a lot because people focus a lot on the layer ones, but don't necessarily focus on the applications that people are launching on these layer ones, and that's essentially what's going to essentially bring the value.
Yes.
Right. That's the value. And we've talked about this before on the show and as well as in the private, Quincy. Value never equals price, or price never eats value. The value is far more worth than the price, right?
Yeah.
Always,
what you end up seeing is the value is abstract, and people, you know what price discovery is? This idea of price discovery. There's this notion of where the market doesn't really know how to value something yet. And there's this ongoing idea. That's why the price is volatile. It's like, is it overpriced? Is it underpriced? So value is incredibly abstract. And the more people that engage with it, the more clear it becomes. But it's hard to tell what that is until maybe it seems obvious now, but when Facebook first came up, people were like, what's the point of Facebook? I can just what's the point? And that's it, because it was an abstract idea. What are you supposed to? Now it's obvious. Oh, I can interact with my friends, get my friends, blah, 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 blah. But it's hard to be able to see what that. And don't get me wrong, people may value Facebook as a company a certain way. People may value the notion of going on social media a certain way. But the biggest thing is it's just that the value proposition is abstract, and it takes a while for people to start realizing what that is. And when people start going into price is essentially the set idea on what I'm willing to give up for this proposition. And that's constantly ongoing in terms of being debated on how much is this worth? How much does this cost? Is this worth what it's cost? Am I able to? It's entirely flexible. But the biggest thing is the cost will almost never reach the value. If it did, you'd see markets do this. It would go up, You know what I mean? The cost never equals the value. It's so abstract. And it goes vice versa. It may be overvalued and it comes down like this again. So it's really hard to be able to see what value is from an abstract sense. So you have this price discovery of constantly being able to find where that is.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. I always use the hammer analogy. I can go down to the hardware store right now. I can pick up a hammer, $10, right? But what I use for that hammer, utility, right? That hammer is making me dollars all day, every day, but it only cost me $10. So how much is the hammer really worth? Well, initially $10, and what I can do with it thereafter is where the real value is, but it's not related to the price.
And then a beautiful thing about that is because you may go, well, if it's so valuable, why is the hammer only worth $10? Well, guess what? If a lot of people also started doing what you're doing, there's more demand for the hammer, which means you see what I mean? There's an element of being able to materialize the value of the hammer because other people are able to expand that value in terms of what they're doing as well. That's the utility component. So there's the abstract value of what you're able to do with it, but then there's the abstract sense of having a bunch of people all come together and also realize that and then demand that thing that was able to create that means for value in the first place. It's a perfect example. Like I think a good example of that could also be like when you see a plot of land. What's the value of a plot of land? Well, you could put a home there, you can build a building there, you can create a well. There's a lot of different things. But then once that thing is there, the value of that has changed now. You see what I mean? So it's one of those things where things are always constantly in a sort of change. And it's always hard to be able to judge the value of something. And that's the thing. What's the potential value of that land? Because if you sat there and said this land's worthless, but then someone goes, hey, look, man, there's a bunch of oil under that land. The value of this could be insane. Who knows? And maybe we don't know how much oil is under there, but there's a potential component as well. So it's all those abstract in terms of being able to see what value is and what can materialize as, and then what the expense is to be able to do that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well put.
Absolutely.
Well put, man.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, a little message here from Trini. He says, what up? Just made it here. Quincy, take a breath and have a drink.
Oh man, the classic. Yeah, that's the classic line. Oh yeah, Quincy, slow down. Or so yeah, I'm all with it though. I love it. I love it.
Welcome, Amy Adams. Thank you for coming to the Dip a Toe show. And our good friend Wilma, Miss Crypto Nurse. She says hello, Quincy.
Oh, Wilma, hi.
Yeah.
She was so nice at Vegas.
Yep. Yeah, Wilma's she's a sweetheart, and her sister too. Awesome.
And
yeah.
And our friend,
that was a good time.
Our friend Heather Lee has stopped by. So we only have a few minutes left. Where do you see all this going? So you are intimately involved in all of the different things that are being built, and I'm sure your friends and people that are building things in based on your conversations with the different businesses and institutions that you're talking with on a regular basis. How close are we before all this stuff is coming together? What's your what are your thoughts? Are you thinking 5, 10 years?
So let's reframe how we look at this. Let's look at this like AI, right? Because people go, oh my, like when people, so when we look at AI, we think of the singularity, right? We don't think, oh, what's AI going to be in 10 years? We go, when's the day AI is just going to change the paradigm and we just don't even know what we're going to do anymore? And I say that because the reason I say that is not because things are just so exponential, but in which they are. But the biggest thing is, it's not about this linear path of when things are growing. It's what are the things that are changing the game. So let's look at it. Let's take a step back. So if AI is the future, let's look at the past for a second. What was the previous thing that essentially created a paradigm shift? Well, look at Facebook, for instance, right? There was this notion of, if you ask somebody in 2004, when is social media going to be the thing? Well, there's this notion of, well, where's the paradigm shift? Facebook existing is one paradigm shift. TikTok existing is another paradigm shift. And I say that because when Facebook came out, monetization online isn't really a thing. When TikTok came out, that was the new monetization platform for all the new influencers. These are different paradigms to look at. But if we were going to say when is social media going to be the biggest thing, I could have been in 2004 saying it is the biggest thing. Facebook's here. Do you see this? We can interact online. We can do all this, but it's not the same thing as influencers being on YouTube or being on TikTok, making money from content that they're curating. That's not something that existed back then. But that's not something that people could have comprehended back then. They just comprehended being able to friend grandma online. You know what I mean? So there are these paradigm shifts that we should be looking at in terms of how people are able to interact online and how people are able to interact with each other. So it's not so much of a 5-10 year thing. I think we should be looking for the next paradigm and not just a trend like NFTs or ICOs. What are tangible things that we're able to see that are able to change the game? I think we saw that originally. So if Facebook was the first paradigm for social media, we could look at Bitcoin as that for the first paradigm. And that was just being able to send money over the internet. Boom. That was the thing. Boom. No smart contracts, no nothing. But then let's say smart contracts are the next paradigm. Now you can create automated code on top. You can create code that automates different tasks on chain on top of move money. That's another paradigm. But maybe that paradigm's not what's it called? Sufficient enough for us to be able to see how valuable it is. We can see the same thing in social media.
Exponential.
Now, let's say in social media, we're able to see the value of interacting online, but when did people start being able to monetize? Well, I think that was YouTube's partner program in maybe 2010, maybe 2012. And then after that, everyone monetized. Twitter monetizes, TikTok monetizes, everything monetizes now, but that's a paradigm shift. So if I was back in 2004 or back in 2008 or whatever, trying to say, well, when's the next whatever, one, it'd be really difficult to see where the next paradigm would be, because how am I supposed to guess that monetization online is going to be the biggest thing? Or even online media now. People get more of their news online than they do from TV. These are different paradigm shifts. So I think we should be looking at these things in terms of paradigm shifts, in terms of how people are able to utilize these technologies to move forward. It's harder. I say that it's a little bit harder to do that, but it's easier to see, because we see that with AI. We don't go, what's AI going to be in 10 years? It's like, well, if AI shifts tomorrow, what's AI going to be next week? You know what I mean? That's how we should be looking at it.
Yeah.
Well said.
Wow. Well, the other thing is I mean, we're transforming our banking system, right? From from the old to the new, that's something that that I think is well down the road.
Want to hear my opinion on that? I do think
Yes.
I call it out. There's an idea that I have, right? I'll call it an idea because I think it's a good one. But there's this construct that I have as the Alpha Company or the Alpha Corporation. Now, what is this, right? Well, all these everyone likes to go, oh, we're going to be tokenizing these assets. These banks are going to be doing this, blah blah blah. What we tend to see, and I've noticed this with other paradigm shifts, this always happens. So you have the establishment, right? People that have already been doing it. Now, before that was Facebook, that might have been the traditional cable media or something. Before social media saturation, that might have been whatever the previous thing would have been. And the reason I say this is what happens is you see a new person come into the space that didn't exist in the space before. They change the space based off an innovation that they have, and now the space is entirely different. Now, I say that because a lot of people are waiting. They're sitting back and they're going, where are the banks? Where are the banks? I don't see them. I don't want to see them on chain. Where are they? I actually end up talking to a lot of these too. But what I end up seeing too is when I talk to a lot of other businesses, whether it's startups, I'm like, look, what may end up happening is you might end up seeing, and this is what I call Alpha Company, a startup or a small organization or a small company, whatever. And it doesn't mean, when I mean small, I mean smaller than everybody else that's already in here significantly. And you see that with AI. OpenAI came out of nowhere. There's Facebook, there's Google, there's Microsoft, but then OpenAI with a grant of like $50 million is now this giant AI company, right? So I think there's going to be this alpha company in blockchain where you're going to start seeing essentially the first steps into what you would see with tokenizing assets within banks. But it's going to be the small organization, probably with less than a dozen employees, being able to outcompete like JP Morgan and Chase, being able to outcompete Merrill Lynch, being able to outcompete Goldman Sachs. And that's what gets them. That's what keeps them in. Because that's the, we saw with AI, OpenAI comes out. Now everyone and their mother has gotten AI. Everyone and their mother is trying to do with something they already did. But it was a small organization that essentially did it first. And I think that's what's going to happen. You're going to see a small organization pop up. They're going to change the game. They're going to be very competitive for really, really cheap. And they'll be really, really small in comparison. And the big ones won't be able to compete. Or at the very least, they won't be able to compete without changing their technology to be like I said, with everyone now being on AI, how are you supposed to compete with AI if you don't have AI? And I think that's what's going to happen with blockchain.
Yeah, exactly. No, facts. Yeah, I call that the Amazon effect, because in the dot-coms, right? It was just an old school way of ICOs, right? And then Amazon came out of left field. It's like, oh man, we just sell books. We ain't nobody. That's all we do. And it's like
nobody at the time. They were booksellers.
Sell books. Yeah.
And that's the thing. There were booksellers. There was literally like Borders and Barnes and Nobles, and they're like, that thing. And then not only that, so I love that you bring that up because there's two sides to it. One, there's the paradigm shift of being able to do something better, but then there's the lateral shift to be able to do it in other domains. So not only did they conquer books, they conquered everything in terms of you can ship online. And I think that's what we're going to see in terms of tokenization. You might see the tokenization of bonds or securities or whatever, but then you're also seeing the tokenization of everything that can be traded online. Because the biggest thing is there's this vertical shift in terms of being able to break the paradigm, but then there's the lateral shift in terms of being able to take that paradigm and put it into other domains.
Everything, right? Yep. Like this, do one and then catch them all.
Yep.
Facts, man. Love it.
Wow.
So what else is going on, dude?
Well, I do. Like I said before, I was actually gonna ask. Like, I'd be down to hop on again in another maybe 2-3 weeks again. I'm trying to. Yeah. After really. So I have these like shifts. I have like 6 months where I like dive deep into my work. We're working with a bunch of organizations. We're building applications. We're building new things. We're breaking things and testing fast. We're doing all this. And then I'm like, oh, well, now that I've done all this, time to share it, right? Oh my God, let's talk about what's been going on. Right? So I'm trying to get back into that. And that's part of the reason why I haven't been like posting or anything. But I'm trying to get back into that flow where I'm able to sort of comment and being able to expand on a lot of things that I'm seeing, especially in terms of what I've seen privately, what I've seen with different developers. Who I see is about. I actually just spoke to a team like literally this morning, and they're about to freaking launch a new property tokenizing application into the new year. And I want to be able to. Now, I won't talk about them specifically, but when they come out, I'd like to be able to talk about that and be able to talk about them and be able to talk about the different organizations, applications that are being launched, that are being built, what I see being built, how they're being built. And really be able to get a chance to share like my experience. So I hope to at the very least be a bit more present now, maybe do like 1 or 2 of these streams every week just to be able to sort of share a lot of the experiences I've been having, but also be able to, and also be able to frame things in such a way to allow people to get a better understanding and a better conceptualization of what's going on. What I tend to see a lot on Twitter is there's this speculative hype idea or hype bubble, and then everyone keeps circling this idea until it happens. And it's funny because it's like the speculative notion of, oh, it's gonna happen. And the funny thing is, it's already happening, just people don't see it or understand how. And the biggest thing is I think that needs to be articulated, because one thing I see a lot too, a lot of these businesses are not advertising their technology stacks. They're not advertising design patterns or infrastructure patterns. They're not advertising tokenization strategies. They're just saying, oh yeah, we have this service and our clients like it and it's cheap and it's fast and whatever, right? And the biggest thing is, that's great. That is awesome. That's all adoption. But then Twitter is just, oh, what is happening? What's happening? I'm like, it's happening right now. It's happening right now. It's doing it right now.
They put themselves in a box. That's the biggest problem I see. They put themselves in a little box, and they're only focused on regurgitating one thing, and they're completely missing all of the other things that are happening around them. And the news does get out. It's just people aren't looking for it, or when they read something, it's not clicking up here what they're talking about, or even, is some of the different conferences and papers and things that I read, they're off the beaten path, but they're out there, and it shows that there's progress being made and the wheels are turning, and there's so many people that they don't see it. They're still just talking about the same thing, the same circle.
And part of it too, I've been on both sides of the fence where I'm like, oh my God, what's happening? But also, like, I've seen this personally. There are certain technologies that are already existing. They just haven't put together a PR strategy yet in terms of how to present it. And that's the whole thing. Because like, if you build something interesting, you want to make sure you get, and part of it could be timing. So sometimes they're waiting for the bull market, so there's a lot more attention on stuff. Sometimes it could be like SEO stuff. They want to be able to frame it a different way. Sometimes it could be building relationships with different like media organizations, whether it's getting on TV, whether it's writing articles. There's a way to try to present this information that is very much like a very difficult task. And a lot of people go, oh, where is it? Where is it? It could be literally right here, right in front of you, but they haven't announced it yet. One, because they're not really sure how people are going to take it. They're not really sure if it's the right time or if it's popular, or maybe people are too distracted with one thing, so they want to phrase it a different way to make it more enticing. So there's this element of a lot's going on here, and because people seem to focus only on the news, that's kind of the reason why I like being here, because I can sort of talk like in between, like I can talk about stuff before the news comes out, but not directly, but also tell you what's going on before it becomes like a thing to even talk about in the news. But people seem to be waiting for the news to happen. And the people that are pushing the news, the marketing people, are also playing the same game. They're like, well, if he puts this out today, do you really think you get a lot of attention? Oh, I don't know. It's not really in the bull market now. People seem to be focused on this right now. Yeah, it's like
everybody's playing the same game. The same exact game. Well, do we go now?
Yeah.
What are they doing? What are you doing? Hey, what did you see today? Are we going? No. Yes. Are we? Yes. No. Okay. No. I'm out. No, we're here.
Yeah.
No, I'm out. Yeah.
I've had this question up from Behudat. Matt wants to know, do you know anything about Stellar's Reflector Network, XRF, and derivatives? I've never heard of it.
Yeah, I've been the biggest thing is, it's funny too, because it's sort of like a reputation I gained when I first came on the scene. When I was working at that firm, I used to study basically every network under the sun. But for the past 3 years, I've been primarily XDC focused, really EVM focused. If you ask EVM questions, I've got a lot of stuff to add on that. But other than really Ethereum or XDC, or any other sort of popular EVM trends, I haven't been really following.
EVM stands for
Ethereum virtual machine. So when you hear about EVM networks, usually the network is like a fork of Ethereum and essentially utilizes Solidity contracts and stuff like that. And the reason I say that is every network is doing something different. So from a broad standpoint, it's easier to talk on the EVM, but I'm not entirely familiar with what Stellar is doing.
Dope. Dude,
well,
we're so glad you're back, man. Because
I want to make this a regular thing. I want to like make this like a regular thing. I feel like, oh man, it's like this is like a fresher right there. Like, yeah.
No, this is great, man. This is just this reminds me a lot of Vegas, where we could just talk. We could talk shop and talk about the reality of it's like you're saying it's here. look, man, it's here in the cup, but no, you can't see what's in the cup yet because the people that made this literally like, well, we don't know if they're gonna like it yet.
Yeah,
Or if
literally,
yeah.
like,
Okay.
and I feel it both ways because people go, but why? But why? I've seen it go both ways, where they put out an announcement and everyone goes, oh my god, this is wow, I don't care about this. Well, they thought this was big news. Who cares? And then the marketers are like, oh god, man, they didn't like our announcement. What about the next one? Is it big enough news? Are people gonna care? Like, yeah.
Well, dude, that's gotta be such a funny thing to see. You're just like, man, everybody's crapping their pants both sides of the streets, dude. It's like, hey,
simmer down now. Simmer down now.
Try it. That's it.
Yeah,
just try it.
Right?
See how it goes. Yeah, I'm sorry your team lost the Super Bowl. It's just Super Bowl, man. This is the real world right here, you know.
Yeah.
So
it's really funny to see both sides. Like,
yeah.
One thing for certain is that we are so early. We're all early in this. And so if you can just speak to that and anybody that's watching this, we've got 794 people watching the Dip and Toe show. We appreciate you so much. If you'd be so kind as to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. We're really a small channel. We're trying to grow. We're at Dip and Toe on Rumble and YouTube, and at Dip and Toe Show on X. And we'd be very grateful if you'd please give us at least a thumbs up and a subscribe to help us get our content out there. We'd appreciate it. But Quincy, could you just speak to any of these 794 people that are in here to watch you, listen to what you have to say? Words of wisdom and inspiration for those that have found their way into dipping a toe into this digital asset space.
Okay, this might be a tiny bit controversial. I don't know.
Oh, we're all about controversy here, bro. Straight up, like you know, we do not support bannerism, man. We just roll with it.
So the way I like to put it is, let's look at it this way. Back in the 90s, there was a time Apple was 90 days away from bankruptcy. And you could sit there and go, okay, like Apple's a big company now. They went through a tough time, but it wasn't obvious what Apple was going to be at the time. People could have went, well, look at Microsoft. He's a billion, Bill Gates is a billionaire. There's billions of machines that run Windows on it. Why would I sit there and look at Apple? And the reason I say this is because I'm bringing this up because everyone judges everything by the price, but not with the potential of the software and not with the potential of what people can do with that. And I say that because, and not to say that if you went with Microsoft, it would have been a bad dig. You just wouldn't have necessarily seen that people would have seen what was in Apple in terms of what would come forward. And the biggest thing is, this is not a game of price. This is a game of potential. And it goes both ways, because if the potential is not there, you have crashes. But if the potential is there, you have the kings, the winners. And the biggest thing is, you're looking for potential, not looking for the next trend, not looking for the next price, not looking for, oh, how much has this token gone up today versus yesterday? And don't get me wrong, because people want to go, oh, but you want to find potential. You want to, and I only say that because when I bring up the analogy with Apple, there are plenty of people that would say Apple's a dead company. It's dead. Who cares? Who cares?
Oh yeah.
Who cares? Now, and there's levels to this.
I was alive then. I remember that.
And there's levels of potential. There's potential in the team. Like, because there are people that believe in Steve Jobs. They'll go up to the end of the earth. And that's like, that was back then. Now there are plenty of people that would be like, oh my God, Steve Jobs, heck yeah. But it wasn't obvious at the time. There's potential in the team, potential in the software, potential in the vision. And you need to start looking at that. And I'm not saying that you should judge your entire financial future on just potential or whatever. It's just when you evaluate these things, you want to evaluate them for what they could be, not for what someone's telling you are or what they are right now. And the reason I say that is these things are rapidly changing all the time. And the biggest thing that you want to be able to find is what is the thing that's going to create that paradigm shift. Because that paradigm shift is essentially, that's why it's not a linear thing. It's a shift. It's a shift thing. It's going to be one thing that, or not even one thing, but a collection of things that shift how we look at them. And those things are going to create other things that are going to create a shift of how we look at it as well. And I only say this because everyone goes, oh, the price is this, the price is that, your network sucks, your token's that. And it's just like, if you want to sit there and start criticizing the technicals of it, or you want to criticize the team, or even want to criticize the vision, that's great. But when we start going, oh, your price didn't go up like mine did, therefore I'm better than you, that's like me saying Apple is, or me saying Microsoft's better than Apple because they have a higher market cap, or because the value went up this. And everything. We all know there are manipulation games in play. There are manipulation games on all fronts. People are pumping their tokens to make them look better than they are. People are lying about their project just to make them see better than they are. There's a lot of things that are going at hand that people will take advantage of this. And the biggest thing is you need to have an understanding of what it is and what it could be. And you can have faith in the team, you can have faith in the software, you can have faith in the vision, right? But the biggest thing is I don't want people to have faith in is just this general notion of, well, the price went up, therefore I'm right. Because, well, just as there are developers out there trying to build new software, there are a bunch of shysters out there trying to look at FTX. Literally, look at all the people out there that are playing bull crap and basically saying, well, the price went up, therefore we're good. Until you're not.
Right.
And that's the thing.
Right.
If you were able to take a look at it for what it is, what it could be, for what the team is, for what the team could be, you would see a lot more than just this notion of everything's fine because they made a little bit of money. And guess what?
Right.
When everything's not fine, you lose a lot of money. So
right. No, that's great perspective. I would liken that to anybody out there that is an avid professional sports fan. Okay, you guys look at the team, you look at the manager, you guys are looking at the history. You're able to look who's on that team. You're like, hey, you know what? I think they got potential here. So what do? You start buying tickets. You start going to the games. Right now, you're investing. You've essentially in the crypto space, you've bought that coin and you're still watching the team. Okay, hey, we didn't make it this year to the playoffs, but we got damn close, and that was a hell of a lot better than we did last year. Things are rocking and rolling. That's great perspective.
And I love that sports analogy too, because there's an element where you're like, this player is a good player, but I don't know if they're mature for it yet. They may not be going to the Super Bowl this year. I can see it in 2 years. They may not, or this coach, this is a young coach, a lot of potential. He grew the team a little bit, but if they had one or two key players here, I say that's the key part. Because if everyone just bandwagon, then everyone would be, I guess, not a Patriots fan anymore. But the biggest thing is everyone would just pile into one. Everyone would just pile into one team, and then guess what? Guess what? That'd been so beautiful. Imagine. So I love this analogy. This would have been so gold. So imagine just being a bandwagon, right? Oh, well, and let's say it was 2018 or something, back when Brady was on the Patriots. And you're like, I don't know anything about football. I just know the Patriots go to the Super Bowl every year. So you just vote on the Patriots. And you don't care about anything. I just vote on the Patriots. Well, as soon as Brady leaves, I vote on the Patriots lose. What happened? What? But you didn't actually take a chance. You didn't actually look at what the team was. You didn't actually, and maybe I'm putting too much weight into Tom Brady here. But my premise is,
it's a great example. It's a great example.
Yeah, you're going to miss the thing that's actually valuable if you don't actually look for what it is. And that thing, vice versa. Imagine like what was it, Patrick Mahomes? Imagine just looking at any team and you're like, yeah, Kansas City's cool, but like, if say it's first year or something or whatever, you're just like, whatever. You can see that kid in college that, hey, man, there's a lot of potential here. Wherever he goes to, there's going to be a lot of it. So there are a lot of people that are almost like anticipating this, and there's some people that are just waiting for it to happen. And I think we should be focusing on what is that potential, that abstract value, and how can it materialize versus, well, I see that this is the top one, therefore I'm going to hop in on it. And the next thing you know, you're a Patriots fan and you're not understanding why the Patriots are losing. Like,
bring me another beer.
Yeah. That's great. That's a great analogy, my man. That's solid. Okay, so I got two kind of they are personal questions, and you don't have to answer them or not. First, what month is the big day?
Oh.
March 2025. I'm actually excited.
Perfect.
Really excited.
And do you got cold feet yet? Because you can call me anytime, man, if you get scared.
Actually, a little stressed, but it's exhilarating, all the way around exhilarating.
Man,
so.
I'm happy for you on that front, brother. I mean, all fronts, of course, but on the personal stuff, man, that's fire, man. I really I look forward
Appreciate
to meeting her someday in the future. That would be really, really cool. As well as bringing my wife around.
I hope so too.
Everybody thinks I'm not married. It's facts. Well, anything else before we call it a show? Of course, we'd love to have you back, Quincy. You want to come back 2-3 weeks, man? We'll book you.
Yeah, I'll message you guys again, but I do want to make this more of a routine thing. I love chatting with you guys. I love where you guys are in the space. I love your show. And I just love your perspective. I feel like there's a lot of I call it the digital holy war on crypto. And I think there's real conversations to be had. And I feel like, just no one has to be right, no one has to be wrong, no one has to be anything, but being able to evaluate what we're seeing and being able to evaluate what we could see and what could be happening is what I think is really valuable. Because then we can go, hey, we talked about that last week. You see that project over there? They're doing something really cool. What about that? And we go, whoa, what is that? That is really cool. That is really, no one's talking about this. Why are they talking about this? Well, guess what? Their token's not 50,000% up. That's why nobody's talking about it. But it doesn't mean that they're any less valuable because they're doing something
Correct.
interesting.
Correct. You know, I like that. Yeah,
Yep.
let's keep that conversation going because this space very much needs this. I know we talked about it in Vegas. We talked about how far more valuable the vision is than anything else. You know, the vision, and you brought that perspective tonight. So yeah, we can keep that conversation going all damn day because we need it.
Yeah, I will definitely be reaching out. I hope to get this on an ongoing basis just because this has been a lot of fun. I'm hoping to be a lot more public in the next coming months just to really share my experiences. But I see a lot going on as well. I've actually been working with a few sort of different organizations on tokenization. So I'm hoping I'm able to share a little bit on that, as well as be able to sort of like showcase a little bit of what I've been doing. But yeah, I'm hoping to make this more of a regular thing, just to be able to share my thoughts, share my experience, and also be able to communicate with other great people like yourselves in terms of what's going on and everything. It's just been great.
Oh, you're so
man.
awesome.
You're awesome, Quincy, man. Thanks for showing us some love by showing up and sharing everything that you've shared with us today. I look forward to us helping you get this information out there and having a good, honest, hard conversations about what it is and being able to see that in real time if we're able to in the future. I love it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Final thoughts?
So much.
My final thoughts are I'm honored that you came on our show. I'm so happy. This is a wealth of information. Do epic shit. I'm going to have to listen back to this show a couple of times and take notes in private. But I sure do appreciate you coming and sharing your knowledge with us and your perspective. And I thank the 816 people that are watching the Dipito Show. We appreciate you. We love you. We love all of our regulars. You add value to this community, and we love you very much. And anything from you, Simon? Ending thoughts?
These are the deuces, and we are cabooses.
We'll see you next time. Every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll see you next time. Bye, guys.
Bye.